Hey friends, it's Deanna here today and I am working on the Moto pants. These are very cool and I'm excited to do this with you. They kind of seem a little bit scary because they are woven pants and they have the fox fly and all that stuff, so they're a little bit intimidating, but they are really not that hard to make. So we're gonna do it together. I already cut out my pattern as usual, and I did one of my patches and I'm gonna show you. So here's my patch, it's already cut out. And what I did, my little guy loves numbers, so I'm doing numbers. So anyway, so what you're supposed to do, on the instructions, it asks you to draw lines 1/2 inch away from each other. So you're just drawing lines all the way across, 1/2 inch apart. And then you're going to top stitch the lines, if you can see them on there. I already did that part, but it turned out pretty easy for me if you're doing it on a cover stitch. If you do have a cover stitch, I did my first line at 1/2 inch, and then I went 1/2 inch separately. So I didn't really have to mark my fabric. If you have a cover stitch and you don't have to mark it, then I guided myself with my already made stitch, and I went over 1/2 inch, and that's how I did mine. You can see them, I think you can see it a little bit back here. I did do lines first, but then I omitted the lines. Then also, if you're doing it with you could do it with a double needle, and same, you could use something on your sewing machine. Sometimes I will draw a little line on my sewing machine to guide me where I'm supposed to go, how far I'm supposed to go. Like I measure, draw a line. That way you don't have to draw all the little lines. It's really up to you, however you want to do it. If you don't have a double needle, you can just do it with the regular one needle. I've done that before, and you just do 2 lines, and you do the line 1/8 of an inch apart from each other. So you do 2, then 1/2 inch, then 2, then so it really gives it this really neat patchwork like look, and so that's pretty neat. But if you have any more questions about that, let me know below and I'll try to give you some answers. But if you do have a cover stitch, that is the best way to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim this edges because I did do it with my cover stitch, so I have all these little hairs here at the bottom. Because now that we're done doing those lines, we're going to go ahead and attach that patch to our pant. So what we're going to do first, there's threads everywhere already and we just started. I'm going to grab my patch and I'm going to fold it 1/4 inch down at the top and bottom and steam it down. That raw edge at the top. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom, 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to grab my pant, front of my pant. Okay, I already did it to one side. It's right here. How cool. I'm going to do it to the other one. And I'm grabbing my pattern piece because I'm going to put my pant face up. And I'm going to grab my pattern piece. And it's going to show me on the pattern piece where to place my patch. Shows me right there. So I'm going to grab pins. I'm going to find my lines that are supposed to be for this size. They're right here, and I'm gonna put my pin right there so that I know that that's where I'm supposed to put my patch, just to make sure that it fits correctly. It's nice. That's a really nice thing about having your pattern pieces and everything like that, because it's a really nice guide. That way you don't have to be like, oh, where did it go? Where am I supposed to put it? They already give it to you. Remove the pattern piece and put your patch right on the same spot where you already marked. See? Easy peasy. My marks. Then I'm going to go ahead and use the same pins and just pin it on. And what I'm doing is I'm going to do an edge stitch at the top and at the bottom. So I'm just doing an edge stitch, which is just a really close stitch to the edge right there where I folded over my 1/4 inch. So you want to catch that, obviously. And then so I'm doing those on the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to do a basting stitch on the sides, just so when I put both of them together, the patch is already basted on and it doesn't want to move and then not get caught when I sew the pant together. So that's why you do that. So I'm going to start with my edge stitch. You can go back and forth right there at the beginning first to make sure it stays. Move those pins out of the way. And then I'm going to my, that was my bottom. I'm going to do the same thing for the top. That edge stitch. And then I'm going to do a basting stitch on the sides, like I said, so that they don't move. Well, that wasn't the best basting stitch. There we go. My thread came over and it didn't want to stay where it was supposed to. But now my pant, my pants are prepped. I put my patch on, do the basting stitch, and then and that's all I'm gonna do right now. Now with that patch. Patch is ready. Okay. So now I'm gonna grab my. Sorry, I had to look at my watch. It did the little buzzy thing, and I was like, what? I was hoping I didn't lose you guys. All right. So now I'm grabbing my pant pieces, my front pieces, and I'm gonna put one face up and one face down right on top of it. So right sides together. And I'm matching this edge right here. We're gonna do the fox fly right here. So I'm pinning around. And this is just a pretend fly, but it looks really great on the pants because it makes it look like it's more of a dressy pant. But it's gonna have a stretchy waist so they can just pull it down. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go around and we're going to do it with the sewing machine first, just because it's easier to do it that way. We're going to go all the way around and we're going to do around the edge. So I'm going to show you. We're going to go down first and then this way and go over probably like a quarter of an inch and then go down again. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right measurements. Yeah, we'll just go we'll do like a half an inch and then we'll go down. And then we're gonna go down from the top right here and I'm gonna match that up to the seam. I'm gonna go ahead and do that on my sewing machine, change it to a normal stitch again. I do not wanna just do baste. And I'm going all the way around. And the reason why, like I said, we're doing it first with the sewing machine. We'll do it with the serger. We'll fix it with the serger when we're done with or we'll do it with finish it with a zigzag stitch. But we'll do it first with just the sewing machine because then we'll do a little clip and it'll help to do it easier. So I did it around. I went around my edge. Now I'm gonna go from the top, where the fly is gonna go all the way down to match up that spot that we did. And I'll show you. We did about a half an inch from the edge all the way down and around and up. Then we started right here and we went down, straight down and met up right at the edge, right there, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use scissors and we're just gonna clip right here up until where you did this stitch. We're just gonna clip right there so that way we can finish the edging. So you can do a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine or you can do on your serger. So just where you went around already, we're gonna do that we're gonna finish it up. Okay, and it's a 3/8 half allowance. 3/8 inch allowance. Okay, and so now that you did that clip, if you wanna just go down and then come back with the serger so you don't cut it, you can do that. Get it out of the way, go around, that way it doesn't cut. That's why you did that little clip right there, so it doesn't cut any more than what needs to be cut. Because sergers can be a little bit funky when it comes to that. You don't want to cut it wrong. Oh, I didn't catch all of it. There we go. Alright, so now there it is. We cut the little strings everywhere. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. I'm going to open up my pant. And when I open my pant, this should go to the side. So I'm going to move it over to the side and steam. I'm going to go ahead and steam. And then we're going to move on to the next step. All right, after I already ironed my piece down, I'm going to top stitch around the curve of that fly. Now you can do a double needle, or if you don't have a double needle, I don't have a double needle and I'm not doing my cover stitch. So I'm just gonna use my sewing machine and I'm gonna do one. I already did one, as you can see. Let me show you. You see it right there? And I'm gonna do another one right next to it. And then I'm gonna top stitch right here along the edge too, to give it more of a finished pant look. So I'm just right next to each other. Just going slowly so it looks even and uniform. And then I'm gonna go along I did the around, now I'm gonna go along the edge. It's a little bit intimidating, but if you do it slowly, it is not too bad. And I'm going all the way down, so that way it has that fancy pant look. Fancy pant. Okay. And I'll show you. Looks so cool. It looks like real pants. On this side, I already did my pockets. I'm going to show you how to do that on this side, okay? So I've got my pant, and I'm putting them face up. I'm grabbing my pocket liner, and I'm putting it face down on top of my pants, and I'm matching that raw edge right here, the slanted raw edge. I'm going to pin, and then I'm going to sew it together. I'm serging, but if you don't have a serger, you can do it with a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, and you can sew it and then do a zigzag stitch to reinforce that edge, because that's where the pocket's gonna open up. So you want a good edge right there. That's why I'm using my serger. Yeah. Fingers are slippery. Okay, so then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pocket. I'm trimming these edges. Sometimes I remember to put them on the garbage and sometimes I don't. And I'm gonna fold it back and I'm going to steam it. Now I wanna give it a little bit of a lip right there because I just like how that looks. But you can fold it all the way down so you can't see that. It's really up to you. But I like how a little bit of the edge looks right there. Kind of gives it a little funky look. All right, so now I'm turning it. This is the wrong side of the pant, face up right here. And I'm grabbing my pocket outer. And I'm gonna put it right on top of my liner, face down, so the right sides are gonna be matching. And you're gonna have this little edge hanging out. Like here's the cut, but this is still gonna be hanging out. And what we're meeting is the, sorry, wrong way, this way. So you're meeting those curves together, okay? Right sides together, here's the curve of the pocket, you're meeting those two together. And you're gonna pin and you're gonna sew them together just right here at the edge and the curve on the inside, okay? Not on the outside, just on the inside. That's what we're sewing together. And I'm going to serge that together. Again, the outside curve of the pocket. I'm lifting it up because I know dark black is kind of hard to see. So we're sewing this edge right here. All the way around. So now that my outer and inner are sewn together, I'm gonna put it right on top again, and I'm going to make sure that it's flush with the side, and I'm going to baste stitch it on. I saw a meme the other day about baste stitching, and if you did it, and some people say they did it, some people say they didn't, and it said something about base stitch is the one that you want to skip, but then you're yelling at yourself afterwards because you messed up because you didn't have the base stitch. So sometimes I do skip it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because that's just, I just want to make sure that it's all coming right, because it's going to look so cute and I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to do the base stitch and then we'll move on. Alright, so now that my pants are basted together, look, here's my front, as you can see. That's looking real cool, isn't it? I'll take those pins off. So now we're gonna move on to put the back piece together so that way we can put them together, and we're almost there. That was the hardest part of the whole situation. We do have the neckband, but the waistband, but that's not awfully hard. So we're grabbing our pants, and I'm trying to see, because with black it's so hard to see which is the right side, but this is my right side, so we're putting it right sides together. This is the back pant, back part of the pants, and I'm going to go ahead and pin the curve, and I'm going to sew that curve together, the two back pants, back pieces together. Where did I put my scissors? All right. And now I'm gonna go ahead and open them. And if you want, and I am going to, because I remember I did in the front, I did the top stitch on the fly, but I went all the way down the crotch area. I'm gonna do the same thing for this one because I wanted to have that, like I said, that more like fancy pant look. You do not have to do this. This is just an extra little step that, you know, if you want to. These are black pants, so I kind of want to give it that look. If you're doing like more like a sweat pant look and you don't really want to, you don't have to. That is the great thing about sewing your own thing, is that you can do whatever you want. Nobody's gonna tell you how to make your pants. Okay, here I am. Top stitching that curve. Alright, so it is top stitch, and like I said, it just gives it that little bit of a fancy pant look to have that stitched right there. Make that bum look cute. Okay, so I'm gonna put it right side up, and I'm gonna put my pant right side on top of it, and we're gonna go ahead and sew, match up the raw edges, the raw edges on the outside all the way down. And this is when that base stitch comes in handy, because that way when you're sewing the pants together, sometimes things try to shift as you're sewing, and then the base stitch will keep those two layers, at least those two layers together, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm pinning all the way down the side of the pant leg, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the other one. Okay, so here's one side, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. And then after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and serge those two sides together. And let me show you the after this, so that way I can go ahead and, you know, I like to kill more than one bird. Two birds with one stone, is that the saying? That doesn't sound very nice. But that is the saying. So, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the pants, and what we're gonna do next, after you sew those sides, is sewing the inseam. So to sew the inseam, that's what we're doing. We're gonna go ahead and match the crotch seam right here and pin. And then we'll go all the way down the inseam, okay? And pinning, and after I pin on one side, I'm gonna pin on the other side. And I start at the bottom, and I go all the way up and all the way around. I'm gonna go ahead and sew those sides, and the inseam, and then we'll come back and we'll be pretty much all done. We'll do waistband and cuffs, and we'll be almost done. All right, so now that I sewed the two sides, you can see it sewn up. I'm gonna turn it right side out so you can see it. It's looking good. Look at these guys. They're looking so good. Look at the accent on the pockets, the little edge that I left, that looks good. All right, so now I'm gonna do the waistband and the cuffs. So for my waistband, I'm gonna meet my waistband right sides together at the raw edge. And I'm gonna sew them together right there at the raw edge. I'm just doing it like you would do a waistband or a cuff on your regular top. So that's all I'm doing right now. Continuous circle. Now I'm gonna fold it and meet at the raw edges. I'm gonna fold the whole thing, wrong sides together, meeting at the raw edges. So you're hiding that that seam right there. And I'm going to steam it. Okay. Now we know that this is your half. If you want to make sure that you're pinning it correctly, it's up to you. You can mark it. But here's my pant, and I'm gonna fit. This is my back seam, so I'm gonna put that attach that to the back seam, and I'm gonna just fit my band right over my pant. Okay. Fit my band right over my pant, just like this, just like so. Can you see? And the raw edges meeting at the top. And I'm going to attach it to my pant. So I'm just pinning it, and I'm gonna pin it all the way around at that raw edge, meeting the raw edges. Okay, and then I'm gonna sew it on. I'm just gonna go ahead and pin. All the way around. All the way around. This thing right here, a pocket. Make sure that you did, what do you call it? You basted it on, because you don't want it to come down. So I want to make sure that I have it together right here. Sorry, I didn't. So I wanted to make sure that it is together right there. Okay. And that it is right at my seam, because I don't want it to shift, if at all possible. Sometimes it shifts, so I'm trying to, making sure I don't shift it, so it's like a straight line, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and sew it together. I'm sewing it together at the raw edges, making sure all three parts are going in there. Come on. Sometimes it's a little bit harder because depending on how thick your fabric is, or your serger to go through all the layers. Make sure you're catching all the layers. Almost there. Moment of truth to see if I actually pinned it right. To make sure they're nice and even. Okay, so looks like it caught everywhere. And my line is nice and even. Yay! That's always my struggle right there. I'm gonna steam it with my, steam it. You know what I forgot to tell you guys? And I know I was gonna do this because I thought about it. I hope you didn't sew it at the same time I did. You gotta leave a 2-inch gap right here at the back. How are we gonna put that elastic in there? You probably were looking at me like, what are you doing? And that's okay, because we all make mistakes, and that's what the seam ripper is for. At least it wasn't something that I was, you know, gonna come back to haunt me later. This is easy. I just need to seam rip right here, a couple of inches. And that's it. I'll just have to tuck in my tails more than once. That's okay. Some people would probably take the whole thing apart, but I'm not those people. I do as little as possible. Now, if this was for somebody else, then yeah, I probably would take it all apart and redo it. This is for my son. He won't mind. Okay, so I opened the gap because before we can do anything else, well, not before we can do anything else. We got something else to do, but before we can close it up, we need to put that elastic in there. There we go. All right. But first, before I put the elastic in there, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch the top of that band at a 1/8, just because to give it more of a professional look. So I'm just top stitching the top of the band. So it looks really good. Just really quickly. Doesn't take very long, and it just gives it that really finished look. Almost there. Alright. Now we're going to insert the elastic. Alright, so it's top stitched at the top. Okay? Now I'm going to grab my elastic, and I'm going to put my pin in there, and I'm going to feed it through that gap, and I'm going to get it all the way through. And once I do that, I'm going to pull the 2 elastics out through here, make sure it's not tangled up. I'm going to put them right on top of each other, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine to put them together. And then I'm gonna go ahead and finish that edge. Finish that edge that I did right there, and then we'll top stitch. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that elastic. That takes me a little bit of time. Sometimes the elastic can be a little bit painful. So I don't know that you wanna sit there and watch me feed the elastic through my waistband. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and come back and we'll finish up. All right, so as I told you, I had a battle with my elastic. I even pinned myself and I got a little cut, but that's okay. But I wanted to show you, it's not even yet, but here's my elastic, my 2 sides. I'm gonna overlap them, and I wanted to show you, I'm gonna do my zigzag, kind of show you how to do that. Just overlap them together, zigzag, go back and forth. On my zigzag. See right here, I just attached them together on a zigzag, and then now I'm gonna pull it so that my elastic goes in there and makes it all even. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and finish that raw edge right there, that little raw edge that I left. Finish it up. There we go. And now I'm going to grab my iron. I'm going to steam it. And I'm going to sew that right here at the edge. I'm going to fold that seam down. and I'm gonna sew it right at the edge, so it's the so I can encase it and it looks good on the front. So that's what I'll do. I'll do that. Can you see it? And my line actually matched up in the back. How amazing was that? Doesn't happen very often. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. And you, when you do it, you're gonna have to kind of pull it open a little bit, stretch it out. But before I do that, let me show you how we do the elastic on the leg. So that way, that's the last thing you've got to do. Look at these pockets. Look at how awesome. Like, these look legit. Legit. And they weren't even that hard to make, was it? Was it hard? I don't think so. I don't think so. That was easier than we thought, wasn't it? Alright, so what I'm going to do is use my leg, and I'm folding it 1/4 of an inch in, and you can turn it right inside out if that helps you. I'll go ahead and do that, turn it inside out. And we're turning it 1/4 of an inch in. Okay, if you've seen any of my videos, I'm not the best at measuring. I just kind of eyeball it. 1/4 of an inch, and then we're gonna steam that. Now the really cool thing about these pants is if you want, you can measure them and you can leave it raw. Just fold and fold. Fold 1/4 of an inch and then an inch, and that will be your hem. And you don't have to put the elastic at the bottom if you want them to be more like straight pants. If you want them to be more like dressy pants, I've done that before for my son, and they turn out great. So like with holidays coming up and stuff like that, if you want to make some fancy pants, that would be a great thing to do. So they're very easy to make fancy. Okay, now we're folding it again at an inch. So here I did measure it, that's an inch. And that's an inch. And now I'm gonna steam it. And I'm gonna top stitch it all the way around. This time I will remember to leave a 2-inch gap to put our elastic in. I didn't remember last time, but I will remember this time because I made a mistake, and that's how you learn, right? By mistakes. I'm threading my machine because it came unthreaded. It's a little bit temperamental at times. That's all right. It does its job. It's really good. And here we go. I'm just top stitching, and I'm going to go all the way around, except for I'm leaving that 2 inches open, making sure that the rest of my cuff is not cut underneath. You want to make sure that you don't have anything cut underneath when you're doing this. All right, almost there. Here we go. 2 inches, about 2 inches. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and trim that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing we did to the waistband. We're gonna feed that elastic through. And then after I feed the elastic through, I'm gonna sew it together. I don't know, maybe this pin will be kind to me this time. But I'm gonna feed that elastic through that hole that I left, that 2-inch hole gap. I'm going all the way around, and then I'm gonna pull it and I'm gonna sew it together, and that will be that. After I sew it together, no, actually that won't be that. I'll sew it together and then I'll have to close that gap. So I'll just go ahead and top stitch right there where I left the 2-inch gap. This one's actually going in easier than the other one. So maybe I can do this in front of you guys, because sometimes the longer the elastic, the harder it is to get it through, and sometimes it gives me a hard time. Yeah, my pin came opened, and that's what pinned me. It came opened and it like pinned my finger. It was awful. Look, this one came open again. But this time I was ready. Oof. Little brat. Alright. So now I'm going to grab it. Make sure that it is not twisted. My elastic's not twisted, and then I'm going to sew it together. Zigzag stitch, overlapping them together, and here we go, back and forth. Oh, my sewing machine came unthreaded again, I'm telling you. likes to make me look bad in front of you guys. I was just saying nice things about you. It's the elastic that it doesn't love. Alright. Here it is, put together, trimmed. Pull it in. Now I'm going to stitch that little 2-inch gap right there. Close it up. Gotta stretch it a little bit so that it doesn't catch my elastic. Now, if you want to, I know that some people don't like the elastic moving around. You can do a couple stitches in there. It's up to you. Alright? And now I'm going to turn it right side out. I'll top stitch the band and we are finished. What do you think? Tell me what you think in the comments. Look at how good that looks. You like them? I love them. I think my son is gonna really like them. Give me a comment. Let me know how you like them. Let me know how you did. Let me know if you have any questions. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel so that way you can get all the tutorials. You don't miss out ever. And if you do make these pants, please come share it to our Facebook or Instagram page. We'd love to see them. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I'll see you later. Bye.